Greetings to all the learners. Welcome to the official YouTube channel of SRN International School. I am Faculty of English at SRN International School situated in Chakatpura, Jaipur. Dear students of grade 12th, we will be learning the topic, the chapter Lost Spring written by Anis Jung, which is from your main course book, Flamingo. So through this subject video, and the simplified summarization of the chapter, you'll get to know what the story of Lost Spring is, because there are two excerpts which are given in this particular story. First of all, let's have the overview of this particular chapter, children. First of all, let me tell you that this is the first part of the chapter Lost Spring, where we will be covering only the first excerpt which is mentioned in the story by Anis Jung, that is, sometimes I find a rupee. So we will be doing this particular excerpt in this subject video. As far as overview of the chapter is concerned, these excerpts are taken from the author's book, that is Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. This chapter, as I told you, is divided into two parts, continuing the author's first-hand experience with poverty and traditions prevailing in some parts of India. The first part describes the plight of the poor ragpickers of Simapuri, and the second part describes the miserable condition of the bangle makers of Firozabad. And as I told you that in this particular one, we will be covering the first part. Now let us know about the author Anis Jung. Anis Jung was born on 1944, who is an Indian author, journalist and columnist for newspaper in India and abroad, whose most known work was Unveiling India, that was published in 1987, which was a chronicle of the lives of women in India, noted especially for the depiction of Muslim women behind the parda. As we know, her occupation was writer, journalist and columnist. So she had not left any stone turned to prove her profession. She is known for Unveiling India, which was a detailed chronicle of the lives of women in India. Now let us know about the characters of the story. Sahib is the protagonist of the story, the main character in the story. He was a ragpicker from Simapuri, Delhi. He has simple dreams. He believes in promises made to him. Then you'll come across in another story, there's Mukesh, who is a boy belonging to a family of bangle makers in Firozabad, and he dreams of breaking away from tradition and becoming a motor mechanic. And of course, we have the narrator Anis Jung. She is a social worker who empathizes with the slum dwellers and honestly prays their pitiable lives. Now let us move on to the first excerpt, that is Sometimes I Find a Rupee in the Garbage. So Sahib, the ragpicker, every morning the author meets Sahib and his friends scrounging for gold in the garbage dumps of her neighborhood. Sahib and his family hail from Bangladesh, but they have left their home a long time ago. Storms washed away their fields and homes, reducing them to a state of abject poverty, which they left behind in the hope of finding a better life. That is why they came to the city looking for gold. The author asks Sahib why he does ragpicking and does not go to school. To this he replies that there is no school in his neighborhood. The author jokingly promises to open a school, and after a few days, Sahib asks if the author has opened the school. Just see the innocence of the child. And the author is very embarrassed at having made a promise that was not meant to be fulfilled. Nevertheless, she realizes that such promises are made to these children almost every day. Now, let us know about Sahib, that is Sahib-e-Alam, which literally means Lord of the Universe. So after few months of knowing him, the author asks Sahib his full name. The author notices the irony in Sahib's name, Sahib-e-Alam, which means Lord of the Universe, and she feels that Sahib would never believe that what his name means. Sahib roams with his gang barefoot on the streets of Simapuri. The author curiously asks why they don't wear slippers, and one of the boy replies that his mother does not bring them down from the shelf as if that she cannot afford it, and another says that he wants shoes. Moving across the country, the author has seen many children who walk barefoot. One of the explanation is that it is a tradition and not lack of money. Anees Jung wonders if this is just an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. So author was really pained by the fact that rag pickers are still barefoot. The author remembers a man from Udupi who as a young boy would pass a temple where his father was a priest and pray for a pair of shoes. 30 years later, the author visited his town. Behind the temple, there was the house of a new priest. Anees noticed that the young boy of the priest who arrived panting, he was wearing shoes that time. The writer was reminded of the boy who prayed that he should never lose his shoes. The goddess had granted him his prayer, and as most of the young boys there now have the shoes to wear. So as against this, the rag pickers in the author's neighborhood still remain barefoot. Now, as I have been explaining that these children along with the families moved to Delhi in search of gold. So what this gold is. So the author's acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers takes her to Simapuri. So Simapuri is a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it metaphorically. So the place is home of 10,000 shoeless rag pickers like Sahib. And they are all Bangladeshi refugees who came here back in 1971. So they live in very poor condition in mud structures with roofs of tin and tarpaulin. The place has no running water facility and no drainage. The rag pickers have lived here for past 30 years and some even more than 30 years, and they were living without any identity. And not having an identity does not bother them. If at the end of the day they don't sleep with empty stomachs, they were happy. They prefer to live here rather than in the fields at home, which give them no grain. So they who once lived in the beautiful land of grain fields and rivers are now compelled to pitch their tents wherever they find food. So children are born here, become the partners in survival, and survival in Simapuri means rag picking. So over the years, rag picking has become an art, and so the garbage is said to be gold, and it meant to be gold for these rag pickers because that was the only source of income. So that's what Sahib tells the author. Anees realizes that garbage holds a different meaning to both parents and children. For parents, it is the source of their livelihood, providing them with food and shelter. For children, it is something wrapped in wonder, because whatever they yearned for, whenever they scooped the garbage, they used to find it over there. Now, all about the lost spring. Like one winter morning, the author sees Sahib outside the fenced gate of the neighborhood club. He's watching a game of tennis, and Sahib seems to be fascinated by the game. And at that moment, he tells the author that sometimes the guard lets him get in, and he used to ride the swing at that time. The author notices that the guy is wearing tennis shoes. And then he tells that someone has given it to him. The fact that some rich boy discarded the shoes because there was a hole in one of them. It does not bother him. For Sahib, who has walked his whole life barefoot, it is like a dream come true. Now Sahib was no longer his own master, and how it happened. One morning, the author sees Sahib on his way to the milk booth, and he was carrying a steel canister. And he informs the author that now he works at the tea stall and is paid rupees 800. and all his meals. But the author feels that Sahib is not happy at all. His face has lost his carefree look. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag which he used to carry while rag picking. The bag was his, but the canister belongs to the owner of the tea stall. Hence, we can say that Sahib was no longer his own master. Now, let us move on to the message of this excerpt that we have discussed right now. That is, sometimes I find a rupee. So, after reading this, after knowing the summarization, we got to know that what Anees Jung wants to highlight through this story. Like, there are thousands of Sahib and Mukesh who are condemned to live a life of misery and exploitation. Grinding poverty and traditions compel children to work in the most inhuman and hostile conditions. Author, to an extent, she succeeds in highlighting the plight of such unfortunate children. I hope, students, that through this simplified summarization of the chapter, you must have understood what Anees Jung wanted to portray through this story. If you have found this subject video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.